right, welcome back, guys, and today we're going to go over solving linear equations with fractions and decimals. So we should already kind of be comfortable with solving linear equations, and we should be comfortable maybe with fractions and decimals. We should at least probably be familiar with them, and now we're just going to combine them. So for a think/warm-up, I just have simplify 6 divided by 24. Well, 6 divided by 6 is 1, and 24 divided by 6 is 24, so 1/4 is the answer. And we're going to kind of continue that theme, just in case we're maybe a little iffy on fractions. We're going to get ready by warming up with some fractions. So I have a bunch of different little things for us to do here, and we should simplify our answers. So 6 divided by 21, we could divide both the top and the bottom by 3. So 6 divided by 3 is going to be 2, and 21 divided by 3 is going to be 7, and that's the furthest it can get taken down. 14 divided by 28, you could divide both by 14, but I think it's good to just recognize that 14 is half of 28, so this is going to be 1/2. And then I've just added a variable on there. You can kind of just ignore it, right? So 12 divided by 8, that'll simplify if you divide both by 4 to 3/2. And then you can either stick that x out front or you can leave it on top. It doesn't really matter. These are the same thing. I kind of like to write stuff like that. I like the first one, but totally up to you. And now we have 2/7 times 4/3. Remember when we're multiplying, we just multiply straight across. So 2 times 4 is 8. 7 times 3 is 21. And I don't think we can simplify that any further. 2/3 times -4. Remember, this is the same thing as 2/3 times -4 all over 1. So going straight across, 2 times -4 is -8. 3 times 1 is 3, and so -8/3. And again, if you want to, you can write the negative straight out front so it looks a little nicer. It's the same thing. -8/3. 8 times 3/2 x, again, that's the same thing as 8/1 times 3/2 x, and it doesn't matter if that x is on top or out front. We just multiply across. 8 times 3, 8, 16, 24, all over 1 times 2 is 2x, and then that 24 divided by 2 is going to be 12, and then that x is still just out front. 3 divided by 4 divided by 6, or 3/4 divided by 6/5. Remember, when we divide a fraction, we're actually multiplying by the reciprocal. So 3 times 5 is 15, and 4 times 6 is 24, and I don't think anything comes out of those nicely. Actually, I think it does. If we divide both by 3, 15 divided by 3 is 5, 24 divided by 3 is 8, and I think that's as low as it goes. Now, same thing here, except now we have variables involved. 4x divided by 5 divided by a fraction is the same thing as multiplied by the reciprocal. 4x times 7x, 4 times 7 is 28, and then that is x squared. And then 5 times 3 is 15. This time, I don't think anything can get taken out of there. Yeah, no. So now we're adding, so we have to be careful. We don't just add straight across, right? We need to have the same thing. So we need to multiply the top and the bottom by 2. So that way I can get 6 all over 8 plus 5 over 8. And now I just add straight across. 6 plus 5 is 11, and then we're all over 8. Right? And now same thing except for subtracting. And now we need to modify both of these. We need to times this by 3 and this by 3, and this needs to multiply by 2 over 2. And so 9 times 3, 19, 18, 27, all over 2 times 3 is 6, minus 7 times 2 is 14. 3 times 2 is 6. And now notice we have the common denominators again. So 27 minus 14, 27 minus 10 is 17, minus 4 is going to be 13. And then all over 6. And so that should be kind of like a quick review on how fractions work. If we're not comfortable with them, we should get comfortable with them. And so here's our first example to solve. 13 equals 1/2 times 9x minus 6. We kind of have two options here. We can distribute this half, or I can just multiply it away. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply both sides by 2, because then 1/2 times 2 is just 1, and then 1 times something is just itself. So 13 times 2 is going to be 26. And then we're just going to be left with this 9x minus 6. Now I'm going to add that 6 over. And when I do that, I'm going to get 32 equals 9x. Now I need to divide by 9. And then I get x equals 32/9. And now I have to see, I don't think that simplifies at all, right? No, it does not. So that would be our final answer. And Delta Math wants it in a fraction, so you have to learn how to do fractions. You can't just put it in your calculator. So same thing here, except maybe I'll do it a different way. Let's instead of multiplying that 5 over right away, we could distribute, right? So if I distribute, I'd get 2 equals 8/5 x, and then 1/5 times 15 is going to be -3 there. Add the 3 over. So we're going to get 5 equals 8/5 x. And now there's kind of two ways to go about this, right? We can get rid of that 5 and multiply by 5, and we'd still have 8x. But I'm going to divide, right? Because we have 8/5 times x, I'm going to divide by 8 over 5. Because 8 over 5 divided by 8 over 5, something divided by itself is just 1. But what happens when I divide 5 by 8 over 5? Right, then I get x equals, and then 5 divided by 8 over 5 is the same thing as 5 times the reciprocal, 5/8, right? 5 times 5 is 25 all over 8. And I don't think that simplifies any further. Now for these ones, my trick is I want to clear any denominators there are. So I'm looking and I see, oh, 3 is kind of a problem and 15 is kind of a problem. But then I think, oh, if I multiply by 15, that's also going to get rid of that 3, because 15 is the bigger one. So I'm going to multiply both sides by 15. And when I multiply both sides by 15, I have to do everything. So 15 times 2 is 30. And then we're going to have minus, and then I'll write it like this. 8 times 15 all over 3, and that's from putting that 15 into both of those. And then on the right side, the 15s cancel, and we're left with x minus 2. Now, 15 divided by 3, we're going to be left with a 5 on the top. And then 8 times 5 is 40. So we're going to have 30 minus 40 equals x minus 2, right? And then 30 minus 40 is -10. And then add the 2 over. And we're going to end up with x equals -8. And then this last one looks crazy, but again, it's the same thing. I just want to clear the denominators. I see I have a 3 and a 6, no denominators over there. And so the biggest number to multiply by to get rid of all of them is a 6. So I'm going to multiply both sides by 6. When I do that here, the 6 and the 3 cancel. and I'll be left with the 2 on top, so that'll be 2 times 2x plus 4. And then here the 6 is just canceled, so I'll just have minus in quantity x plus 5. And then I'll have x plus 7 times 6, so on this side I'll have 6x, and then 42 from 6 times 7. And looks like a lot of stuff, but let's just get through it. We have 2 times 2x is 4x, 2 times 4 is 8, and then we're going to have minus x minus 5 distributing that negative equals 6x plus 42, right? And now it's a matter of simplifying. I have 4x minus x, that's 3x. Then I have plus 8 minus 5, that's plus 3. Then 6x plus 42 on that side. I'm going to subtract the 3x here. And I'll be left with 3 equals 6x minus 3x is 3x plus 42. Subtract the 42. And I'll be left with 3x. And then on this side, it'll be negative 39. Divide both sides by 3. And we'll end up having x equals negative 39 divided by 3 is going to be negative 13. And that's our answer for that one. And a couple last ones here. Again, this one just takes step by step. We have negative 5 fourths x equals negative x. And I'm going to distribute this 3. 3 times negative 1/3 is going to be negative 1. And then times x is just going to be minus another x. 3 times positive 1 is going to be plus 3, and then we have a plus 1 at the end. And now, it kind of looks a little normal. Negative 5 fourths x. Minus 1x minus another x is going to be minus 2x plus, and then 3 plus 1 is 4. And now this looks doable, right? If I add 2x to the other side, right? So what is negative 5 fourths x plus 2x, right? I'm going to add 2x to both sides. And that's going to equal 4. Well, 2x, don't we agree that 2x is the same thing as, if I want to put it over 4, 8 over 4 x? And so when I do that, now I can just add straight across. Negative 5 plus 8 is going to be positive 3 over 4x equals 4. And now let's do it this way. Let's multiply this 4 over first. And when I do that, I'll get 3x equals 16. And then divide by 3. And I'll get x equals 16 divided by 3. That does not simplify nicely, so that is our final answer. And lastly, now it's kind of the same thing, except we just have decimals, right? So let's just do what we know. 4 plus, we're going to have to do 1.1 times negative 8. And that'll be 8.8, negative 8.8, right? So I should do 4 minus 8.8, and then we have x, 8.8x. And then 1.1 times negative 9.3 is going to be negative 10.23. And then we have plus 8.6x equals negative 9. Don't let the decimals freak you out. They're just numbers, right? Let's combine like terms here. We have x, and we have number and number. So negative 8.x plus 8.6x is going to be negative 0.2x. And then 4 minus 10.23 is going to be negative 6.23. And then on the right side, we still just have negative 9. Now let's add the 6.23 over. And when we do that, we should get negative 0.2x equals negative 2.77. And then we need to divide by negative 0.2, divide by negative 0.2. And we are left with x equals negative 13.85. So I know it's a lot and it's going to take a lot of delta math practice, but I think this is all doable, right? Because we already know how to solve for an equation. Now we just have to get used to doing it with fractions and take it step by step and be careful of our negatives. But that is going to wrap up one variable equations with fractions.